We begin this hour with a courtroom curveball. Hunter Biden pleading not guilty in Delaware after his so-called sweetheart plea deal on tax and gun charges falls apart.
The sticking point being a disagreement over immunity that would shield the president's son from future prosecution.
Lucas Thomason is live at the White House with more. Lucas.
Well, good morning, Steve, Ainsley, and Lawrence. Like what you did there with the curveball, Ainsley. This was supposed to be just a 5-minute pro forma plea deal in and out for Hunter Biden. Instead, it stretched more than 3 hours. Now, we're just getting word from our colleague Jake Gibson. The judge in the case has assigned both parties 30 days to come up with some written responses to her question. Now, again, this was supposed to just take 5 minutes, but the whole case started unraveling over the course of those 3 hours when the judge asked a simple question, the prosecution. Is this criminal investigation into the president's son over? The prosecution said it wasn't. And then the judge replied, quote, I have concerns about the agreement. I can't let him plead to something if he thinks he has protection from something and he doesn't. Now, here at the White House, Karine Jean-Pierre refusing to weigh in directly on the case, only adding the following.
Hunter Biden is a private citizen, and this was a personal matter for him. As we have said, the president, the first lady, they love their son, and they support him as he continues to rebuild his life.
So the plea deal is not over, guys. Hunter entering a not guilty plea, but he could enter a guilty plea when both parties return to the courthouse for that follow-up court date of August 25th. That's 30 days from today. 2 days after Fox hosts the first GOP presidential debate in Milwaukee. Now, here are the conditions that Hunter must follow when he returns to the White House or wherever he's going to be living over the next month. The judge says he must, quote, look for a job, not possess weapons, not use alcohol, not use narcotics, and submit to testing for prohibited substances. Now, in the last hour, you had the Republican chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee on. He said his committee has some questions they'd like to ask and get them answered as well.
There's several individuals that need to come before our 3 committees. We've asked for 13. However, the president's administration is blocking that, and we're going to have to find a way to get them in so we can get some answers to questions that we have.
Now, another one of the sticking points the judge raised yesterday is, will Hunter Biden be charged as an unregistered foreign agent? Of course, that stems from his time as a well-compensated board member on Ukraine's large energy company, Burisma. Guys?
Lucas, you know, from the podium at the White House yesterday, KJP said that, look, Hunter Biden is a private citizen. Doesn't he live at the White House?
He's been seen many times getting off Marine One. He's seen that state dinner with India's prime minister, and many times he has been seen here on the ground. So we'll have to look out for him, see if he's still here.
Well, Lucas, Jason said that Jason Smith, the congressman, he said there are 13 more. When he was on the couch with us, I think it was last week, he said, we asked him, why don't you bring in Hunter Biden? Is he one of the 13? And he alluded to he could be. He didn't say yes or no.
And, of course, the Oversight Committee wants to hear from Devin Archer, who used to be one of Hunter's best friends.
Who's apparently in hiding.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right.
Thanks, Lucas.
We're supposed to hear from Devin Archer on Monday, but he keeps pushing it back.
Right. He's canceled and rescheduled 4 times.
About him and his family's safety. Let's bring in House Majority Leader Congressman Steve Scalise from the great state of Louisiana. Congressman, thanks so much for joining the program. What is your reaction to all of this that just happened yesterday with Hunter Biden and the court essentially saying no deal? Go back and draw something up.
Yeah, well, good morning. Good to be with all of you this morning. And I think it was a bombshell, but it was also a signal from the judge, and I applaud the judge, that there is something that stinks in this plea agreement. And I think there are a lot of questions. At some point, these people that were working for the federal government cut this sweetheart deal with Hunter Biden. You know, Wall Street Journal had a really good opinion piece yesterday that pointed out anyone else in America that did what Hunter did would go to jail. And yet here you have this blanket immunity, and the judge actually was concerned about that. You know, how am I going to sign an agreement that literally lets him off the hook for things that he had done in the past when we don't even know if the investigation is over? You know, what we've been doing in the House and Jason Smith's committee, Jamie Comer's committee, and Jim Jordan's committee combined last week with that, those whistleblowers that came forward and brought more riveting evidence. They talked about some even deeper crimes that they were trying to look into, and they were told to stand down by their superiors. Everywhere you turn, Hunter was getting sweetheart deals, sweetheart treatment that nobody else in America would get. Now there's obviously this big big question, and Jonathan Turley's raised this a lot, about whether he should have been registered as a foreign agent. Look, he's getting millions of dollars that we documented from foreign countries. Ukraine, he was getting money from Chinese companies to be an energy expert even in America, and yet wasn't registered as a foreign agent. Others have gone to jail for that. There are even more questions. Our committees are not going to stop working. You show that clip from Jason Smith. You know, this bizarre twist just 2 days ago where Jason Smith's attorneys had filed some information with the judge, and then somebody from the other counsel from Hunter Biden's law firm called and basically got it pulled down. And the judge said, hold on a second, were you misrepresenting yourself? That hasn't even really been answered adequately. A bizarre turn of events there. It just seems like over and over again, I think the judge got sick and tired of seeing all this special treatment and said, let's go back to square one.
Yeah, what was your reaction to the judge finding this? Like, it sounds like she found the fine print that said he'll be granted immunity for everything going forward in the future. Tried to pull a fast one, and very surreptitiously they put this language in there, and she saw it and said, no, this is not going to fly.
Yeah, that was section 14 and 15 of the plea agreement. And the judge looked at that and said, hold on, you're telling us that you can't turn over information to Congress. We're still trying to get more information. And the Justice Department, the FBI are saying, we can't give it to you because there's an ongoing investigation. And the judge said, well, if there's an ongoing investigation, how can you give him immunity for things that happened when you're still looking into it? So I'm not going to sign off on this. And again, I applaud the judge because nobody in America would get that kind of sweetheart deal. He shouldn't, just because his last name's Biden. You know,
Steve, we've heard so much over the last couple of months. David Weiss, the U.S. attorney whose department brought these, they agreed to this sweetheart deal, and it's a head scratcher. Why would Hunter Biden wind up with such great treatment? Oh, yeah, they all work for his father, who heads up the executive branch. David Weiss says, look, I'm not the decider about this stuff. And then you hear the attorney general say, no, it's all on that guy, David Weiss. It seems like somewhere between David Weiss and the attorney general, somebody else at the Department of Justice is calling the shots.
Right, and it keeps pointing back to people like Weiss, and if it's not them, they need to start talking about who it is, because we're not done with this investigation, and it's not just about Hunter Biden. We obviously have seen all these references to the big guy. There are still more bank accounts we're trying to get that we're seeing the administration trying to block, the White House is trying to block. You just saw days ago, and this is significant, by the way, for years, including during the campaign, Joe Biden kept saying he never talked with his family about their business dealings. We've got the video over and over of Joe Biden himself saying that. And then just a couple of days ago, Karine Jean-Pierre changes that and says he never was in business with his family. That's a major change. The White House still hasn't explained that. And what about all those times that Joe Biden chided other people, including during the campaign, by saying, I never talked to anybody in my family about business dealings? It seems pretty clear that that's no longer the case, because there's evidence of him talking about business dealings, talking to people at Burisma. So that's another change that the White House hasn't adequately explained.
Well, Congressman, I think you guys deserve a lot of credit. So often when I'm out in diners talking with the voters out there, especially Republican voters, they say you guys aren't fighting hard enough. When you guys fought and you guys were on the gas, and I don't think we would get this revelation without you guys fighting. I think the judge saw those documents that you provided and was moved by them as well to dig a little deeper. So you guys deserve some kudos. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Well, thanks. I think we were at one of those diners in Pennsylvania, and we said then we would be digging to find the facts and get the facts to the American people. Takes time sometimes, but look at what we've done by spending the time, not trying to shortcut things, not trying to cut corners. It takes months and months. And by the way, all that time, we've had the administration trying to block this. They don't want to give us this information, and yet we've gotten a lot already. We still have more to come. There's more information we're going to keep fighting to get, and the American people ultimately need to see all of this.
Steve, before you go, yesterday, a scary moment there in the U.S. Capitol with Mitch McConnell, where, reportedly he got lightheaded, is what his office said. Have you heard how he is?
I haven't. I need to reach out to him. Obviously my thoughts and prayers go out. We saw that, but I have not spoken to him yet.
Well, we hope he's okay. All right. Congressman?
There he is right there. He was just froze for a while. He was talking and just stopped talking and froze.
All right. Congressman, thank you very much. I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.